Welcome into Atlanta Falcons today. I am Tom Downey, and if you want all of the latest Falcons news and rumors, especially as we move towards a very critical and pivotal offseason for Atlanta, free agency, draft, trades, you name it, we're going to have you covered. Hit that subscribe button for me right now. I'm Tom Downey. We're going to have all the latest Falcons rumors on today's show, which is dominated by, like so many fan bases out there, wondering whether or not the Falcons could get Derek Carr and Davante Adams, and if that's even a good idea for where the Falcons are at. As strange as this is from where we were at the beginning of even last offseason, at minimum, Derek Carr is going to be available this offseason for a potential trade or signing in free agency. Derek Carr is done with the Raiders. They're benching him for Jarrett Stidham, not because they think Stidham is better, but because Carr is no longer part of the long-term options. He's got some guaranteed money that's only injury guaranteed up until February 15th, I believe is the date. So they're looking to move on from him, which means you could go get a better quarterback, potentially, than what you have right now. At the same time, the Falcons are trying to see what they have in Desmond Ridder, knowing that they don't have Kyle Pitts available to help maximize Ridder's ability. 2 games to go. We'll see what else Ridder can show. He's young. There is upside there, make no mistake about it. But even though he was better last week than his first start, I don't know. I'm pretty underwhelmed so far from what I've seen out of Desmond Ridder. Now, I think it is very fair to assign some semblance of blame to the coaching staff and supporting cast. It's never just on the quarterback, even though I know that's the easy route to take for so many talking heads in the media. But I do think that Ridder can show more, and I think does need to show more from an individual basis, or else the Falcons owe it to themselves to at least explore the market at quarterback, whether it's free agency, trades, draft, whatever. They do owe it to themselves. Here's what Aaron Freeman mentioned. Should be obvious if the Falcons are going to move, are going to have real confidence in Ridder moving forward. Winning at home in a favorable matchup against Arizona seems like something you see. If they don't win, it can't because Ridder looks like a rookie making his 3rd start. I'm actually less worried about winning and more worried about how Ridder plays. If he plays well enough to win, if he shows those individual things, then yeah, I feel confident. Like, for example, in the event that Desmond Ridder and the Falcons score 28 points, but the defense has a disastrous game and allows 31, I'm not going to, that would still show me stuff of, okay, like Ridder should be good. They should play well enough to win on offense. I'm less worried about the nitty-gritty results and the nitty-gritty of how they got there, how he performed. As tough as it is in a team sport like football, you need to be able to differentiate the team results and the individual results, because quarterback wins are not really a stat. So be honest with me. Do you think this game, or at least the next 2 games, decides Desmond Ridder's future as the Falcons' starting QB? Sound off. Y for yes, N for no. It's the pinned comment on today's video. So if the ad break comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let us know. That does bring us now to the idea of potentially adding Derek Carr. Now, Carr's career is, at this point, likely over in Las Vegas. I have a very difficult time seeing the Raiders bringing back Carr. With the way they've handled this, it's pretty clear he's done. You're not benching Derek Carr because you think Jarrett Stidham's your answer, even though Derek Carr has not had his best year amid reports and claims that Josh McDaniels doesn't let him audible, which is super weird from that standpoint. But Carr had a bit of a down year. Still better than Marcus Mariota, what Desmond Ridder have done. And overall, I think Carr's been a top 15-ish quarterback, which is what the Falcons were trying to win with originally with Matt Ryan, but Carr is now, of course, much younger. From Colin Cowherd, here's a good stat. Take out Derek Carr's rookie season. Most QBs overwhelmed and struggle, especially for a second-round pick. Career averages are 25 touchdowns, 11 INT, 4,000 yards, good pass rating, 65 completion percentage. Most years, though, with a coaching change or impending coaching change. He mentions the Jets, and the Jets are a very valid destination there. But Derek Carr has been a steady quarterback, and there is some semblance of, is he good enough to win you a championship? And on the flip side of, you could do a hell of a lot worse than Derek Carr. We've seen that time and time again, right? We've seen teams like the Commanders, for example, go, well, we don't want to ride with Kirk Cousins. Minnesota's making the best of that right now, and the Cousins have been in quarterback purgatory ever since. Purgatory is not, or maybe wasteland's a better term for it there, of you don't have your guy, you keep trying different players, and if you had just settled in quotes, the top 15 guy, you'd feel pretty good about that. Now, change of sceneries are always needed, but I do think there's some semblance of a minimum Ryan Tannehill-esque resurgence for Derek Carr somewhere else. So what do you think? You can be the GM for us here. Should the Falcons go make a play to either sign or trade for Derek Carr? He would have to be cut by February 15th, so we'll know if there's going to be a trade or not. Should the Falcons go make a play for Derek Carr? 1 for yes or 2 for no. You can sound off for me in the comments section. Today's show made possible by our sportsbook partner, BetUS, chatsports.com/betfalcons. Go to that URL. 125% deposit bonus when you use our promo code Falcons125. That's chatsports.com/betfalcons, promo code Falcons125. $100 down minimum for the deposit bonus. Head over there, and they're going to take care of you with big-time money. You can bet on all kinds of games, prop bets. You can bet on where Derek Carr will go next even. Chatsports.com/betfalcons, promo code Falcons125. Now, the other side of this is that there could, hypothetically, be a package deal involved for Davante Adams and Derek Carr. Now, at that point, at minimum, you're moving your first-round pick to acquire Adams/Carr, since Adams just went for a 1 and a 2, and the Raiders paid him, and there's some negative monetary input there that makes it tough for the Raiders, but Adams is very tight with Derek Carr. They're best friends, and that's the big reason why Adams came to Vegas. He wanted to play with Derek Carr, and Carr didn't even make it a full season before the Raiders were like, nah, we're done with this stuff. Adams has been awesome again this year. 88 catches, 1,290 yards, 12 scores. You could argue still should have been a bigger piece in there. But on Instagram, this is what Davante Adams said. This man gave everything he had. This, of course, is about Derek Carr. The reason I'm a Raider, one of the most disciplined and loving people I know, got my brother's back through whatever, and if you can't respect it, excuse my language, F you, love you, bro. Adams is a bit tricky here in terms of a moving on from the Raiders standpoint. The first out isn't really until 2025. He's fairly cheap this upcoming year. The base salary numbers are what matters for a team trading for him. It would not cost you very much. He's very affordable. That's why I think the asking price would be very high and why it's so tough for the Raiders to move on from Davante Adams. But in the event that Adams goes, F you, I'm done, I want out of here, trade me or I'm not playing, Falcons get some money freed up here in the near future. And you know what? Imagine this offense. Derek Carr. We can throw Tyler Algier, Cordero Patterson. You could draft somebody else. Davante Adams, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. That's a really good offense, man. And for a team that can run the ball so well like Arthur Smith's offense, that's dynamic. And you got Derek Carr throwing it up to London, who's, I think, becoming a young wide receiver one despite iffy quarterback play. It's very interesting to how that all turns out there. Now, the question is, how does this all get done? It's complicated. And we're going to break it down how in a moment, but I do think the tandem package is very, very tricky to actually pull off. We'll break that down right now. Step one for this actually happening and getting both is probably Derek Carr gets cut. Now, there is a scenario where you just do the package trade, but to make things more affordable, I do think getting Derek Carr in free agency is the easier path. I don't know how many teams are going to trade for Carr with the contract. It takes out some teams like the Bucs, for example. But if you're a team like the Jets, for example, you might want to try to go get Derek Carr before the bidding war, because there's not often under 33, whatever old Derek Carr is, quarterbacks who are top 15 hitting the open market. Now, I don't know if a trade would be the easier path for Atlanta, but teams also know the Raiders have to cut him by a certain date, or else they're in a really rough situation with the way his contract guarantees. So because of that, I do think there might be some staring contests of opposing GMs and the Raiders like, you're going to cut him, you're going to trade him, you're going to cut him, you're going to trade him. If that is the case, only takes one, but it could also drive down the asking price for Derek Carr. You know, maybe it's a Carson Wentz package, either to Indy or from Indy, but I do think there is a chance he just gets cut altogether. And that makes it easier for the Falcons in particular to add Derek Carr. Adams, however, would need to be traded for. Now, I think you might run into an issue where Adams raises a stink, and that often means the asking price drops. In general, the high-value trades occur before the player is like out there publicly demanding a trade and whatnot there. The Raiders-Packers trade was a first and a second in exchange for Davante Adams. The money does complicate things here. Adams is also a year older. We'll play it for the Falcons' benefit of a better Falcons trade than the one the Raiders got. We'll give it 2 seconds. So those will be early seconds, which I do think matters there at least a little bit. It's still less than what the Packers, of course, got for Davante Adams, but this is a disaster strikes Vegas, and the Falcons are pouncing on it, and it's still more than DeAndre Hopkins. Well, that was a weird one there in the end. I would do this trade in a heartbeat. Now, I would wonder if other teams would be like, we'll do it too, and it becomes a first and a two. But hey, it's a Falcons show. We'll be a little bit more favorable in the Falcons side of it. So, would you do the trade? T for trade or P for pass? Make sure you guys are subscribed. In the end, I don't think Adams comes to Atlanta. I think he stays in Vegas for one more year at least. Derek Carr, however, it's much more doable. We'll keep you guys covered with all the Falcons rumors this offseason. Hit that subscribe button right now.